Hi, folks. So, earlier this week, I went ahead and announced my list that I'm officially taking to Worlds, and it is a Rebel list, and I rightly got some hell for that. Because I talked all of this about how great Scum is, I talked about how excited I was to run Scum, and then I'm not bringing a Scum list to Worlds, right? So that's apologies for that. And I do still think that Scum can absolutely win Worlds. I think the faction is nowhere near as far behind as people think it is. It's just there's a lot of kind of conventions about what people think that Scum should be and what it should run. And the fact of the matter is that everyone's kind of favorite pieces in Scum are a little bit behind what they have been before. And that's a problem. That's something I hope gets rectified soon. That's fine. But Scum has some incredibly strong pieces that people don't tend to fly or are sleeping on, and I wanted to go ahead and highlight some of that real quick to talk about this. So, I have two Scum lists. I think they're very competitive. After testing and playing with these quite a bit, I think they're really, really strong, and I would love to see someone else who is maybe a better player than me or maybe braver than me actually give these a run for it, whether at Worlds or at any local store event or tournament, whatever you want. I should also point out that some pieces of these are also variants of things seen in the 6-ship Scum lists, and you can't even run 7-ship Scum lists. But at that point, you're losing all of the 4-pointers, so I think 6 is where it's at. But so right now, looking at this list, I've got 3 4-pointers, a 2-pointer, and a 6-pointer. If you split that 6-pointer into any two 3-point ships in the Scum faction, you would have the 6-ship Scum list, because this is 5. So it's real close, but I opted to go ahead and keep the 6-pointer in there. And after testing quite a few of them, this is the 6-point ship that I settled on. So I'm going to go ahead and talk through this list. And real quick before I get into it, though, the reason that I am not flying Scum at Worlds is because I am a avid list builder and absolutely love it and have to settle on something. I understand that playing Scum, my personal bias is that Scum is very, very strong and probably stronger than people give it credit for. However, I have had tickets to go to Adepticon for 5 years in a row, going all the way back to 2020, which is going to be my first year when it shut down completely. And I really, really want to go because something has come up for 5 years in a row that has kept me from going. And then also, okay, I do have a bad habit of going to tournaments unprepared and or changing my mind at the last minute. And I want to make sure that just in case I am wrong about Scum, that I have the best possible chance to succeed when I'm there, which is not, you might call it the coward's way out, but I will talk up the Scum. We'll get there. So that's just the big justification behind me not running it. Still, I feel bad. So let's talk about Scum. And this is part 1. I want to do a part 2. I'm also going to look at counters for the Braylon Gina combo, the Braylon Gina Battle over Endor B-Wing combo that's been making some waves. So we'll talk about that. And I want to talk about some counters for that, specifically with Scum in mind. We'll go a little further than that. But for this, I'm just going to talk about these two Scum lists that I'm very excited about. So I already talked a little bit about the Mandalorian. Really simple build here. This is the way he's more or less built to be with the child crew on there. So he's got the 2 force points that only recur if he takes a hit. Yes, after you defend, if you suffer damage during the attack, recover 1 force. So good and bad. He won't automatically cover force unless he's shot, but every time he's shot, he has the potential to recover force, which makes him very, very durable because of his ability. While you defend or perform an attack, if you are in the forward arc at range 1 to 2 of 2 or more enemy ships, you may change one of your blank results to an eyeball result, which naturally lends itself to spending force. It's also got 7 hull and 2 shields, so it's a very durable ship. It has the 3 forward attack dice. It's got the Razor Crest title, which gives you a free illicit that you can change out game to game, which is really awesome. I love that flexibility. Most of the time, it's going to be Contraband Cybernetics, just to make sure you can do those stress maneuvers, but it sometimes won't be. Sometimes it may be, I want to say you can do false transponder codes in there, but I'd have to double check that, but it's in there. And then I've talked a lot about the defense. So Mandalorian Optics plus the child, if they don't shoot at Mando, and he's got his force up, you can use Mando Optics to get the free target lock, and then use the child for the double mod, which makes him hit really hard as well, especially since his ability also triggers on offense. So if you're right up close in the scrum, you are throwing an extra die, which is awesome. Or you get a free mod, excuse me. Yeah, you may change one of your blank results to an eyeball result. Yeah, so he's really, really high likelihood to be able to spend force, which is great. Now the dial sucks, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I do, personally, the way I set him up is I put him on an edge, I'll go up to the middle a little bit, and then either turn in straight across or at a slight angle, so he goes straight through the middle and just will turn around at the far end and come back through. So really good kind of shark piece, just sort of sharks right through the middle of the board and back. And I have yet to lose him in a game, which is awesome. So he has performed well. Next up, we've got 2 rogues. Notably, both of them have the 4-point proton cannons, which is the bullseye weapon. So 4 dice in bullseye. Spend 2 charges to fire it, so you shoot it every other turn if you get a shot. And you get to change 1 eyeball or hit to a crit. So it's a proton torpedo bullseye only, but you don't need a target lock to fire it. And that's going to be important when we talk about the Braylon-Gina counters, because there's going to be a lot of incentive for people to bring jam and remove tokens and remove locks. So ion control, jam, any other way to remove target locks. So having proton torpedoes you can fire without a lock is a big advantage in the meta I'm somewhat predicting coming up. CAD also has the ability, let's see, where there we go. After you perform an attack that hits, you may spend 2 charges, and he's got 2 recurring, so again, every other turn, to transfer 1 of your non-lock red or orange tokens to the defender. Also has a pretty terrible dial. A lot of linked actions, so it lends itself very naturally to doing stressed actions. So you focus boost, focus roll, and then you have a stress to spend on your attack. And another reason I like proton cannons is you don't always get the full arc shots, but when you do get the shots, you have the passive focus mod, you have 4 dice, your odds of actually landing hits are much higher, so your odds of actually handing off those negative tokens are much higher as well. So I really, really like that on there. And then this is something I've been tweaking. So everything in this list has some struggles with stress. You got bad dials, you got red actions, you got a lot of stuff that will tend to stress you out. So Fen Rao Crew is a clutch piece that I've been playing with, and he's in my rebel list. The testing has gone so well, I'm actually taking him. But he reads, before a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 engages, if its revealed maneuver is 1 speed or higher, and there's an enemy ship in its forward arc at range 1, that friendly ship may remove 1 non-lock red token, which is really strong, especially for Mando, who ends up wanting to be in that space a lot and can then remove red or orange tokens, and can remove tokens applied by other players, so you have the way to remove like strains and stresses that other players may pass on, or ions, which is great. So you could be ionized and then not be ionized if you only take the single token, which is a surprising piece. I think it's probably not the only piece out there, but one of the few pieces that can make a ship not ioned after it's been ioned before. So interesting piece. I really like that. And then I rounded out with just the 2 points for Cutthroat, although there could be an illicit or a, don't think it can be a payload. No, bomb that requires 2 bomb slots. So yeah, so it's pretty much, it could be an illicit or it could be a, jamming beam? No, I've already used both cannon slots. Never mind. So it pretty much has to be a talent or an illicit. So that's what I have in there. Or you could do baffle if you want. You could do electronic baffle in there. But another important thing to highlight about the rogues that people tend to forget is that all of the Scum rogues and a couple of the Separatist rogues have dead to rights. While you perform an attack, if the defender is in your bullseye, defense dice cannot be modified using green tokens. And he's initiative 4, so there may be some challenges lining up those bullseye hits, but free focus mod in the bullseye, you can pass up a red token if you land the hit, and the defender cannot use green tokens, including reinforce, when you actually have those bullseye shots. So really strong. The hits themselves are so powerful that they're definitely worth taking, even if they don't land every turn. And with the volume of ships on the table and the volume of large base ships on the table, or even medium base, your chances of getting shots are quite high, even at initiative 4. So I think that people sort of undersell the difficulty of lining up bullseyes with that. Yeah. Especially because he does have the linked actions. That's kind of a key piece. I was just thinking about my experience with Battle Over Endor Tycho, and I had the opposite experience where I really had a hard time lining up those bullseyes. But this guy has the dream actions of focus boost, focus barrel roll, evade barrel roll, or just plain boost. So he's got the options to get in there, the linked actions that Tycho does not, because he doesn't have any linked actions with focus. Or linked reposition with focus, which is a real bummer for that ship. And then we've got Dirge, very similar. Dirge has the defensive ability that's essentially blank, but sometimes will trigger. Really, he's an I-5 proton cannon carrier that's pretty tough to bring down and has the same offensive advantages that CAD does, except he is initiative 5, which does make a difference in lining up those shots and getting those repositions when you need them. So he's pretty great, and those two are kind of the backbone of all of my Scum lists, most of my Scum lists, because they're just so good. They're the workhorse ship that Scum has always needed, and they have proton cannons, which I love. So Yeah, those guys have been very successful in testing, and I do think that more rogues is better in Scum. And that's one of the biggest issues is that a lot of players are only flying one. They're not flying, if any, they're not flying any of them. They're reaching instead to Fang Fighters. And I really do think the Fang Fighters are in a really bad spot right now, mostly because of consistency. They are always, always the entire game one bad roll away from blowing up. More so even than most other ships in the game, also because they don't have double reposition, and they are ships that are statted to where they should have double reposition, and also because they all of their special abilities trigger when they're in the dumbest possible places. So if they put themselves in the most danger possible, they mitigate that, but that's a wash with the extra danger they put themselves in. So I'm stock's way down on Fang Fighters for me. So if you are flying Scum, try not Fang Fighters. Just try it. Anyway, moving on. So we've got Dace Bonearm and the Hawk 290, who's kind of a staple of Scum right now as well. Basically an X-Wing. Again, except he has the Zero Stop and Jam. Let's see. We'll actually look at the pilot himself. Yeah, so he's got the Zero Stop and Jam maneuver. Dial sucks. Ooh, excuse me. But he's got a front arc. He's got the title, so he has that front arc 3-die attack, and he also has a 2-die turret that you can play around with quite a bit. And then he also has some really interesting upgrade slots and a good chunk of loadout, unlike a lot of other pilots out there, especially in Scum. And you may notice that I have Hondo Onaka Crew on here, who, just in case you haven't seen him, his ability says, action, choose 2 ships at range 1 to 3 of you that are friendly to each other. Coordinate one and jam the other, ignoring range restrictions. So where that's super powerful is, in a pinch, if you need to coordinate one of your ships, you can jam another one. There's almost always a case where you don't mind jamming one ship for the sake of one that really needs to coordinate. Or vice versa, where you don't mind jamming a ship to coordinate one that doesn't need it. So say you've got Han way off the board pointing away from you, and he's like, whatever, I'll just coordinate you and give you a boost. Versus Luke, who's pointed straight at you with a focus for a proton torpedo, and you can save a ship just by jamming off that target lock, or jamming off the focus, excuse me. Likewise with Gina and Braylon, he's at I4, so you will be jamming, so they'll get to choose what to take off, but still, you can choose to jam off what they have and force them to make that choice. So it's really strong to have that jam access, and jam at range 3 is really, really good. And coordinate at range 3 is really good. So I really like Hondo. I like him on Dace, because Dace has the option to bank focus tokens with Moldy Crow. So you have some extra mods on hand, so it frees up your actions to do something a little bit more crazy, like Hondo actions. And you don't have to do them every turn. In fact, you probably shouldn't, but having Hondo in your list gives you a giant piece, like a giant toolkit piece for offense or defense that's really, really clutch. And I really like having that in there. Then you've got Bosk at the 2-point objective monkey with marksmanship and expert handling for a little offense and maneuverability. Very strong offensively, surprisingly strong, and just absolutely great on objectives, and of course is 2 points. So this is the list that all of my testing came down to. It's semi-independent, where each of these ships can operate independently, but they do also benefit from working together as well. So it's that nice combination of synergy and also independence that is lacking in a lot of squads, especially in Scum, and I really like this. There's no janky bits where 2 ships have to fly together. There's nothing where one ship only works with a wingman. They all just kind of work by themselves, and that's something that's really important in any Scum list. So this is one. This is the one I tested down to. This is my Dream Team 1.4. It's the 4th iteration of my Scum list. I would really like to see someone fly this, even if it's not me. It would be great. Maybe. Let me know. But I have another one as well. And this is a complete redesign. This is one that also I think is really strong, and even stronger now after some of the changes and with the way the meta is shifting. So I did want to make sure to highlight it as well. Now this one is dramatically riskier because I have Boba Fett in here. So if you don't ever want to fly Boba Fett, pass right on. If you want to fly Boba Fett, consider this one as a little bit of a weird take and a way to kind of, get around it. So this is the Boba Fett build that I actually ran at the Lone Star Open in the Dallas-Fort Worth area last summer. And the Boba build was phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed flying this, and it was really strong. The key piece being burnout thrusters. So no one expects Boba Fett to slam. So you do a 3 maneuver, and then you do another 3-speed maneuver, which really helps deliver. I usually did the 3 bank to a 3 hard or a 3 straight. Super strong. And then you can gain a deplete to remove the disarm token, but then also you have Yes, so you can sacrifice an attack die to still be able to attack after doing that, which is one of the things you can do with Burnout that you can't do with other slam actions. And then I've also got Advanced Slam on there, so that after you perform a slam, if you fully executed the maneuver, you may perform a white action on your action bar, treating that action as red, which plays into the Mandalorian. So a lot of people running fire sprays at all, and particularly Boba Fett, say that to run Boba, you have to have Force Crew, which is such a dogmatic, hard, like totally inflexible attitude that it's been a little obnoxious to bang my head against it. So the reason you take Force, right, is so that you have mods. So you can have the reroll, so you can have a focus mod whenever. But the thing is, with ship counts the way that they are, with Force being so prohibitively expensive for his loadout, it's not, I don't think it's necessarily worth it, because you'll get less benefit out of it. You get, what, 2 Force? And then if you take Maul, you're stressed to hell and then can't ever do anything else the rest of the game. If you take the Child, then people are getting free target locks on you. I do think if you're going to bring the Force, bring the Child. He's the best option because you still have points to play with. But I personally like the Mandalorian better because Reinforce is a stronger defensive piece than the Force is right now. Because a single 1 to 2 eyeball mods on a ship with 2 evade is not going to help you against a 7-ship list or a 6-ship list or arc spam. Like, you're still going to take so much heat that it's not going to save you. So Reinforce will save dramatically more damage at the cost of you don't have the focus mod for offense, but the trade-off there is that you get dramatically more points to play with on the ship. So yeah, that Burnout Advanced Slam Mandalorian build has been awesome for me. A combination of that massive mobility plus Veteran Tail Gunner plus the durability from that Reinforce is it's exactly what you want on Boba. Now, I still don't think he's a 9-point ship. I don't think he's worth that much. He should be 8, maybe. We'll see how that changes. He should be 8 or have a bunch more loadout, but from a design perspective, I have been, as a player, annoyed by the community being like, you have to take Force. So if he had more loadout, people would just take Force upgrades and be like, whatever, Force and bombs. So I do kind of like that that's been cut down a bit, so we have to experiment a bit more. I hope that will be dialed back up. Maybe he loses the crew slot. I don't know. Whatever. But I also would love to see standardized loadout Boba Fett. I'm really hoping for that at some point. So we'll see. Anyway, I've talked a bunch about that Boba. To top it all off, he also has Cutthroat, and this is a 5-ship list, so Cutthroat is very likely to trigger. And when it does, he can use it to remove a key stress, or he can use it to recharge burnout thrusters and do his slam maneuver again, which in my games that I played at the Lone Star Open, I was able to chase down Hans that were running away using those slams. And there were 2 games I would have won if not for a key critical damage I took. One gave him 2 extra stress, so he couldn't actually slam, so that was unfortunate. And then I forget what the other one was. But they were crits where he was just not able to catch him. But without that one card at that exact moment, he would have chased down and killed Han in one of those games, and then I forget what he would have killed in the other one, but both times. And one of the key moments I had with this is I won a game because I was pointing away from the fight, and one of my ships died, so he was able to recharge Burnout, and then in the following turn he did a 2 hard, and then Burnout into another 2 hard that got me onto an objective and got me arc on something to kill it. And so I won that game because of Burnout Thrusters recharging because of Cutthroat. And he was still on the board because of Mandalorian Reinforces. So I can vouch for that build. I really, really like that build, and it's really nice to be able to put Boba on the table at all. So I keep talking up that one. There are alternative builds too, but that one is really very good. And especially Veteran Tail Gunner is dramatically better because of the same high ship counts that make Force Crew worse. So yeah, give it a try if you're at all tempted. And then this has some other fillers in it that are just kind of very strong pieces in Scum and pieces that I personally just kind of recommend using and that are also very points efficient. So Bosk, of course, and the 2 3-point Y-Wings are some of the strongest pieces in Scum. And then you've got a random 3-pointer, whichever one you prefer. I personally like this Leighton Ashira because Leighton has the ability where after you defend or perform an attack, if the attack missed, gain 1 evade token. So that sucker is just stacking evade tokens all over the place. Which combos nicely actually with the bullseye only cannon because you have the opportunity to do burst damage with the bullseye cannon, but if you're just throwing your 2 dice normally, you can plink damage off stuff, but if you're missing, you're still getting the benefit of getting free reinforced tokens. So very durable and a great flanker, especially with Lone Wolf. You could also do Elusive, but I like Lone Wolf because it recharges automatically every turn. So there's that, and Heavy Laser Cannon also lets me, my Rebel list, one of my favorite pieces ever is the custom Tycho A-Wing with heavy laser cannon. So that's why I've got him on, or why I've got that on there. It may not work. I haven't actually tested that build, but theory crafting, I really like it because it plays into latent strengths and gives you a little bit of extra oomph in this list. The other sort of standard build for Lima Kai is the plasma torpedo instead of that ion cannon turret. The logic there being that Lima's ability is to get free target locks. Before you engage, if you're not in any enemy ship's forward arc, you may acquire a lock in an enemy ship in your full front arc, which is, it's good. It's always good to have that threat of a target lock and plasma torpedoes in there too. Personally though, and I talked about this in the Scum Discord today, I really don't like the what if of that, because this is not a ship you ever want to target lock with. You just don't. So having a gun you can only fire while target locked is a real bummer, especially since this is one of the few ships out there that can also carry a turret, and you have the opportunity to take ion cannon turret. Doesn't have the same burst damage, but is much more consistent, where I'm firing ion cannon turret shots almost every turn. Don't need a target lock, can't run out of ammo for it. Still have that R4B11 to get the attack mod, or the defense mod, so my opponent has to reroll the defense dice. Yeah, really strong, and ion control is really great right now because it does, so many ships in the game right now are relying heavily on target locks, so ion control has both the option to ionize something and control its movement, but also break its locks. So if you're ionizing things, they will lose some of their offensive output, which is really, really good at this exact moment in the game. And as it turns out, you don't need the threaded plasma torpedoes for people not to want you to get free target locks. So this is still a very distracting piece that people will come after. And what I found with the plasma torpedoes is most of the time people will come after Lima Kai because it's a 3-point Y-wing and easy to take down in theory. So it's one that people chase a lot. So I've literally never triggered Lima Kai's bonus ability to get that free target lock. So it's just not worth it. So I bring the ion cannon turret for that consistency, a little extra bit of control, just to have the extra dice in the wider arc. And if you get a free target lock, cool. And then Arlise over here has a really nasty build, and Arlise's ability is, while you perform a front arc attack, if you are damaged before the modified dice result, you may change one of your eyeball results to a crit. And then the defense is also bad. While you defend, if you're damaged, you must change one of your eyeball results to a blank. Yeah, this is a funny one, sort of the opposite argument of Lima. Arlise does not mind taking target locks, and if you get a target lock off with Lima with that, or Arlise, with cluster missiles when you're unshielded, you get two free eyeball to crit mods. Eyeball to crit mods. And that's even good with the dorsal turret. Like, that offense is awesome. Yeah, and the dorsal turret just benefits from that even if you don't have a target lock too. So because Arlise can take munition and turret, that's why I do that. So that's my big thing there, is it's really strong with the cluster missiles, then also really strong with having the turret as well. And then being able to have R3 Astromech gives you the opportunity to lock both targets of your cluster missiles, but then also gives you the opportunity to trigger R4B11 for Lima by making sure that there are locks floating around the board that you can use to do those rerolls. So that is my other Scum list, my Dream Team 2.1. I'll make sure the links to both of these are in the description of the video. Gotten a little bit long here, but these two are the most competitive Scum lists that I have built. And if you want to try them, fair game. Go to town. But yeah, that's it. So I'll come back and revisit the Braylon Gina counters and talk more about Scum's dirty tricks and where I think they'll impact in the meta in a later video. Until next time.